honest, I don't feel like the best Danny Garcia came to that fight. You know what I mean? I thought that I was going to see a better and more willing Danny Garcia. And unfortunately, I didn't see that. So I can't really tell from that performance. But I think he did what he had to do in order to um, make it boring enough and early on to make Danny fall asleep and then pick him apart like he normally does, right? And that is kind of the a little bit of the school of the Cuban boxing, right? Is kind of lower you to sleep, no pun intended, um, and lower you to sleep and pick you apart, and then make it easy, right? Or make you go vulnerable, and then knock you out. So with that being said, I do feel like it'll be difficult. You know what I mean? Because in areas I'm gonna have to push the pace, I'm gonna slow it down, push it, slow it, and figure out. What I mean, make traps, all those different things you're gonna have to figure out. So I'm actually excited. I'm you know what I mean, and I'm willing to take whatever consequences come with that. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Uh, if that's losing badly, or if that's winning and being great and infamous and remembered forever. That's what, like, you know what I mean? That's what, like, that's exciting. That's what you want to have. So that's what I want. That's what I aspire to do and to be. And if I got to go and get that, get a belt first, and then come back and get you, then that's what I got to do. But I'm here and I'm open for you. Hi, Laura. Pick me, buddy.
Definitely, definitely. So, did you feel like going to the body, slowing Laura down in the early part of the fight, and then you can get him out of there maybe late in the later part of the fight? Would you go for the knockout, or you just let the knockout come by itself? How would you approach that without giving too much of the secret out?
I don't. I gotta really, once it comes down to, taking the fight and stuff like that, and getting in there, I think, obviously, because I am the younger fighter in this scenario, I feel like there's going to have to be especially where I push the pace. I'm going to have to push the pace and make him uncomfortable and things like that. But there's also going to be times where I gotta sit back and change it up. So there's not just one game plan against a guy like Lara. You're going to have multiple weapons, and you know, if I so happen to figure out that Rubik's Cube where we're even thinking about a knockout, then we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But I got to just figure out a way to beat that guy first. Just to you know uh, get enough rounds to win. You know what I mean? And then hey, if I get a lucky one, then and he starts buzzing, then we talk about a different conversation. But as of right now, it's just you know figuring them out, figuring out a way to pick them apart.
Definitely, man. Well, that's an exciting fight. I'm going to be tuning into that fight. I can't wait to see it. So you got to keep banging the drum just so you can hear it. So
Yeah, man.
what's your final message to Laura? So because I know he's going to probably see this. So or someone from the street will see this. So what are you telling
Man,
him?
man, bro, y'all been seeing me for a long time, man. Answer the phone, put this together. I think the fans would love to see it. You know what I mean? I think it's going to be a great fight. Why not me? You know what I mean? Why not me? Why take a guy like um, Zarafa, um, uh, Danny Garcia? Guys that, in my opinion, don't deserve it. You know what I mean? I deserve it. Pick me. Let's make a great fight. Let's give fans a good fight, and prove me wrong. That's if prove me wrong.
Definitely, definitely, man. Well, earlier today I was at the I want to switch gears real quickly. I was at
No
the
worries.
Keyshawn Davis Barichek press conference. So that's we were trying to get this interview, and I was trying to get out of there and conducting interviews over there and stuff. But I want to know what your thoughts on what were your what do you who do you think feel who do you feel wins that fight? Keyshawn Davis versus Barichek. They're fighting for the WBO title. It's a lot of champions, a hot division, the lightweight. It's a glamour division. Who do you think wins that fight? What are your thoughts on that?
If I'm being honest, I don't know too much about Baranchek.
Yeah.
Um, but I know Keyshawn Davis, and man, he's the businessman. That guy's the real deal to me. I mean, he's got skills. He's mean. I feel like he has what it takes to be great. You know, what I mean, I think that he's really going to, uh, you know, stamp his mark in that division. Um, yeah, I feel like from what I've seen of him in the past, that dude just has what it takes, in my opinion. And like I said, he's mean in there. Like, you know what I mean? Like he's got skills, but he's mean.
He's a
And
bully.
so, yeah. And so that's gonna make a great fight. So if I'm being honest, I don't really know too much about Baranchyk, but I do know Keyshawn Davis, and that dude's got skills and he can fight his ass off. And I think that he's gonna be a champion.
Yeah. Well, there's another Davis in that division. His name is Javante Davis. So Keyshawn
Yes, yes.
versus Javante Davis. If he
Oh,
becomes the champion, then they might
oh,
unify. Shakur is the WBC champion. I don't know if they'll fight. What do
man.
you think about the two Davises? You got to give me your take on that.
Ooh, jeez, that's a great fight, man. That is a great fight. I think, if I'm being honest, I would give the edge of just experience of big fights, and because I mean, I know a lot of people don't really think that that is important, but like being in part of big events is really something. Like, I mean, this really takes from you energy wise.
Yeah.
And like when you are part of like big fights, like those massive fights, it really does take away energy from you, and to be able to manage that energy and still be able to perform at a high level when everybody's watching you, doubting you, whatever the case is, it it can play on you. And so I would say that Javante Davis has that experience. You know what I mean? Even Ryan Garcia, who was kind of molded and marketed to be this superstar, which I feel like he still is a superstar. Um, he even said that when he fought Javante, the lights got to him. You know what I mean? Like that's crazy to hear from a guy that like was the man. I mean, he is the man still. And so he even said when he fought Javante, the lights got to him.
Getting a
And
starstruck.
yeah, and so I say that to say that not that that means that Javante wins just because of that, but I do feel like if we're talking about the who's been at that level at a longer period of time, is Javante Davis, and that really does mean something. When you can get up for those moments and win and add up those on the subconscious scoreboard, it really does mean something for that subconscious and who you are in those moments, right? You're cultivating who you are in those moments, those big moments. And so that's why I think that he has the edge for me. But skill wise, they both have great skills. They're both really, really sick boxers and also killers. They're both mean in there. So I think it's a great fight. I think it's actually probably the best fight at that weight class. Because yes, I do think Shakur is a great fighter. I think he's mean in areas, but Shakur, in my opinion, also has that gear of I am willing to make it boring if I need to. And that's not always the most fan friendly, right? Because he's more so about winning. I will sacrifice the entertainment
Yeah.
for my win, right? Which from a fighter standpoint, yes, I 100% get it. I love it. I think it's great. I think it's smart, right? But from a consumer standpoint, who we're fighting for, right? The reason why we got money and
This is a
fame and
business.
all this stuff, exactly, right? The reason why people go to these fights, you're willing to sacrifice that, and so for that reason, I would take away a little bit of his fan friendliness, and as far as the business and how good the fight would actually be. out of those guys. So I think the best fight, because both of them are dogs, both of them are willing to fight, both of them are willing to mix it up and be mean in there in areas. I think both of the Davises would be probably the best fight at that weight class right now.
Absolutely. Now, switching gears one more time, February 22nd, Shakur Stevenson, who we just spoke about, faces Floyd Schofield. Is it too early for Floyd Schofield? Shakur was having, at the Benavidez fight, his hand was swollen. Does that give a little bit of success to Floyd in that fight because of the hand injury? He had the hand surgery, or you think he'll be 100%? What's your thoughts on that?
Even if he ain't 100%, I think that like I just said, he's willing to make it boring.
Yeah.
And as you've seen in some of Schofield's performances, he would now he's on the other spectrum of that. If it's too boring, he will sacrifice himself. He will throw himself in vulnerable positions, which I think is great from a fan's perspective. I think it's great, but he's shown vulnerability in that if it's boring, he'll do something to get and make it exciting. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Or when he fought, like I think it was like 2 fights ago, there was a guy. It was over at the Hard Rock, or what is it called? I think, well, the old Hard Rock, anyways, out here in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
Um, it was he had fought somebody like a Colombian dude or African dude or something like that. Um, where the dude like grabbed his belt at the press conference, was like talking crap. Schofield got like a cut, but it was because the dude was hitting him low, doing something crazy, and Schofield got mad and like went for something, got cut. And like I said, he will sacrifice himself. Like if he gets emotional and wants a fan friendly fight and all those things. And I think that's great. But from the perspective of winning, that's how you get people. That's how you get people. That's how you knock people out,
Yeah.
right? Like I said, Lara um will make it boring. You know what I mean? That Cuban state of bop, bop,
Yeah.
bop, bop. And
This
then
one.
you feel like, okay, I gotta do something. Right?
Of course.
And Sakura is, he's a silver medalist for a reason. He is you know, many time world champion for a reason. He is willing to, and he said publicly, he's willing to make it boring. So you have all those elements. Even if he's got a broken hand, he will figure out a way to win, and he will make it boring if that's the case. You know what I mean? If it's too hot, boom. Okay, well, yep, I'm not getting hit with that no more. All right, well, I guess taking a walk. I'm moving around. I'm gonna pop you, pop shot you wherever I can and make it boring. So, with all that being said, I do believe that no matter at what stage, even if Schofield was more seasoned or whatever, I just think this is a bad matchup based on what I've seen from him in the past. Um, he is willing to fight and make it exciting, and I think that that's a bad recipe for a master boxer like Shakur Stevenson. I just feel like, in my personal opinion, that um, Shakur is too talented for him and that mindset.
What would be the strategy for Floyd to have some success against Shakur? Shakur's probably the best defensive fighter in boxing. Many critics believe that. How could he get to Shakur? How could he break that defense? How could he get inside?
Mm. He'd have to make it, he'd have to make it ugly. I would
100%
say
around? Would he have to just
no, no,
ball?
no. He had to make it ugly. So think what's his name? The guy that first beat no, 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 the guy that first beat Vasily Lomachenko. What's his name?
Oh, or Orlando Salido?
Yes, him.
Yes, yes.
Low blows, hip shots, headbutts, all that,
That's what people
right?
do.
Yeah, no, 100%. And the reason why, and I'm not saying that you have to cheat, but you have to take this man out of his game plan.
Yeah.
You gotta frustrate him enough to
Hopkins, like hitting on the
yes,
side when the refs on the
yes,
other side and hit those legs.
100%. You have to. You have to take him out of his game.
Look
And
him up.
then in that, find your way to we're in a fight. You know what I mean? Yeah, like be respectful. Uh, you got to play within the rules,
Yeah.
right? You can get a couple warnings, right? That is allotted to you, right? So get the warnings. I would rather get the warnings, right, and be warned for it and have him worried about it now than to not do it and to not have the warnings, right? So yes, hit him on the hip, right? Hey, don't do that. Oh, my bad. Oh, hip. Now, every time he goes to the body, he's worried about the hip shot. Now he's going there. When you throw that shot, he's going to the block and leave the middle open, right?
Yeah.
Whatever the case is, or leaves a headshot open, whatever the case is. So I think that you have to play within your bounds and play within the rules, know the rules, and know how to win the game, and then transfer that to manipulate your opponent. Um, and he's got to be able to defend against that himself. He's got to figure out a way to do that himself. So that's how I feel like I would go about something like that, right? Because like you said, he's a very good defensive fighter. I always like me and some guys talk about it in the gym. One of the biggest, and he's my buddy actually, is Victor Ortiz. Man, I always talk about this to people in the gym.
Huh.
Is man, I think you messed up the bag so bad. You should have, when you headbutted Floyd, you should have spit on him and said, "Bitch, this was gonna be all night."
Man, it just continued.
Rather than
Kiss.
boom, kissing him. Oh, I'm sorry. Nah. This is what we at, homie.
Exactly.
Anytime I come in, you gonna have to worry about this, and maybe have to worry about an elbow. Now you take him out of his game,
Yeah.
right? Like I said, you should headbutt and spit on what? What you gonna do? We here all night. I apologize, after the fight.
Yeah.
Yeah, we apologize after the fight. My bad.
Sorry, yeah,
I
yeah,
got
so yeah.
emotional. Yeah, but we already here. You already headbutted him. You know what I
Yep.
mean? You already did it. Why
Yeah.
you apologizing, bro? Don't be sorry for that. You know what I mean? You fuck up and mean it, bro. And so I think that's where it comes from. Like, you know what I mean? Like, yes, I do believe that people should fight clean. I do think that. But sometimes in a fight, sometimes in a boxing match, a fight breaks out. And you need to be ready for that. And you need to be game for that. Right? We in her business. We're not here to, you know what I mean, kiss and hug and be all nice.
Yeah.
And this we are here to win. You know what I mean? So you got to do that. And even if we're just talking about it, right? Even if we're just talking about it, even though I was like this, right? Now I've psychologically gotten this your head, right? Like let's just say, for instance, I was saying that about Laura. Oh, I'm gonna hit him on the hip. Now
Yeah.
he just think about it. I might not even do that. I might not even do it at all.
But
But that I talked about it, it might be in his head. Oh, this motherfucker gonna cheat, and then I don't. Right? You
yeah.
gotta you gotta figure out your way, however it is, however
I
you
get
you
right?
plan to exactly. Because it's all about it's bigger than just the fight. It's all of it. It's all encompassing. It's all who you are as a person, and you bring that into the fight. And so I think that's what you got to do. You know, I don't. Again, I believe that Shakur Stevenson is going to win, but I think if I, I said to give my advice, would do something like that, right? Even when you when uh I can't think of his name right now. Devin Haney. When Devin Haney fought Vasily Lomachenko, he said, "Well, he's gonna do this. He's gonna do this. He's gonna do this." And you know what's so funny is Devin was the one that was doing it. I think it was like he's gonna hit behind the head or something like that. I can't remember exactly what kind of type of thing it was. Yeah, it was right puncher, right? And he was like, "Oh, he's gonna hit behind the head. He's gonna hit behind the head. Ref, watch him. He's gonna hit behind the head." And the only one that was hit behind the head was him. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I think that's what it was. I can't remember what exactly the file was, but I remember hearing him talk about it before the fight, and even like the commentators talking about it and stuff like that. And like I said, that's psychological warfare. And then he was the one doing it. He was saying, "Hey, look at him! Look at him! Look at him! He does this! He does this! He does this!" And then I'm the one doing it, right? It's
Yeah.
psychological warfare, baby.
The art of war, right? Deception, irritating your enemy.
Exactly, and that's what you got to do. You got to find your lane and figure out how you want to do that. Uh, from a game plan perspective, and especially in these big fights, these big events. You know what I mean? That you need to have that, right? Because then everybody's talking about it. Then we have that energy going to you of this is what's going to happen. This is going to happen. This is going to happen, and I take advantage of that. So. Yeah, I hope he does something to prove me wrong. You know, what I mean, like prove me wrong, please. But I think Shakur, if I had to put my money on it, Shakur's winning.
Definitely, definitely. I see that happening. Now, today at the press conference, I mean, at the weigh-in, Terrence Crawford
Mhm.
was there. I want to talk about Terrence Crawford and Canelo Alvarez. Now, you shared the ring
Mhm.
with Canelo Alvarez. You had sparring sessions with him, with Caleb Plant, Benavidez, Dimitri Bivol, so many people. Even your dad, Sugar Shane Mosley. That's crazy to me. But yeah, you got to tell me a little bit about that, about you and your father sparring. How did that go? How did that conversation even come about? Talk to me. What were your feelings about that?
Yeah, man, I've sparred with my dad a couple times. I don't like doing it. Ever since I was a kid, he's always
Yeah.
wanted to make sure that I was ready ready for the
Still
world.
sharp and steel, right?
Yeah, and for me, it's always been kind of like I wanted it to be my own thing. I wanted it to be like also do this, and I do this for your influence, but I do it more for me and to be um, somebody that can be like a peer rather than like some like I'm I- I'm just doing it because of you. You know what I mean? And I think to a certain extent, right, I did it because of him. Like, right, if he wasn't a fighter and I didn't have all this influence, I probably maybe wouldn't be easily influenced to be a fighter. But I truthfully believe I was always meant to be a fighter, and I believe that I wanted to do it for me.
Yeah.
So having my dad, spar with him, I try not to do it too much. We've done it, actually quite recently. I sparred him for my last fight, but I've learned to be able, like when I was younger, I hated it and I never wanted to do it. I used to actually cry in the middle like of sparring because like my dad would be like, "Hit me," and I'm like, "No."
You're holding back, right?
Yeah, I was like, no. And then he'd hit me harder. He'd hit me hard and hit me. No, not doing it. And,
When,
and
when did you
so,
break that pattern where you said, "All right, now I'm gonna crack you, Dad"? Like, where was that?
well, I think more than anything, I try to take it outside of like I use my own logic against me, right? Like he's not my dad in this moment. He's my peer. He's somebody that I can learn from. He's a legend that I can gain knowledge from. And then I started to see it from that perspective, from a competition perspective. But it's very, very difficult for me to do that. I mean, even still, I mean, I prefer to just keep it as what you're my dad, support me from the outside, give me information from the outside, give me advice, whatever you need, and and then we can move from there, right? And then be proud of me as a fan and as a father rather than my coach or a training partner. You know what I mean? Like just be somebody that's proud of me. Like I was always proud of you when you would fight. You know, so that's where it comes from. But yeah, I never really liked that. Um, yeah, and as far as like sparring with all these guys, just I always looked at it as trying to help my brother. You know what I mean? Because um, in situations you go and work is supposed to be for purpose. Sparring is supposed to be for purpose. We're not getting money. We're not getting glory. I mean, at least you shouldn't. You know what I mean? Like it's not the performance. It's not that. You know what I mean, I don't care how you look or knocking people out, whatever the case is. It don't matter. It don't mean shit. It don't mean nothing. Right? You can knock out everybody you get in the ring with. Don't mean that you want to knock out that guy that on fight night. It doesn't mean that. So, um, it is when it happens, when the lights come on, when it means something, and you bring it out. That's what matters. And so we try to do what we can to prepare that. And if you constantly put your mind in fight or flight, even in life, right? You're never learning. You're never improving. You're only scared, right? Either I'm fighting or I'm scared, right? You can't learn that way. You have to learn from a place of of love, of appreciation, of gratitude, whatever the case, whatever your thing is. At least that's the way that I feel. Like so, when I go in and I spar these people, go in to say, "Hey, man, how can I help you? How am I helping you? How am I helping myself? Right? How can I give back to this sport? How can I give back to you? Right?" And that's what I feel like helps you improve and helps you to get better. When you feel like it's not me, it's outside of that. It's outside of me. And how can I give back to this game? How do I love this? How can I show my love for this game? And so I always go into these situations trying to do that, um, give back to help my brother, to show love, and then in that aspect I didn't learn.
Definitely. Yeah, talk to me about the love that you gave Canelo in sparring. I want to know about that. I want to know about that, how that work that you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
What did
at,
you learn
at the
from
time,
him?
at the time, man, I actually was really, really young when we sparred. I was like 20. I wasn't even a pro yet when we sparred. And he actually helped me out a lot. Yeah, I mean, he would like, tell me certain things I could do. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, he was just like, it was more so like just like he was like helping me out. You know what I mean? Like almost kind of like how you see like when he would like spar with Ryan Garcia or like stuff like that. Like it wasn't like a
Was it heavy,
like
heavy?
what was that?
Wasn't that heavy, or it was like mild sparring, or
Yeah, I would say that was
not?
more on the mild side. You know what I mean? It was more on the mild side. Um, Definitely very, very, very skilled. I mean, you could see that he was like his head movement was on point. He was very purposeful with his moves. He was, placing the shots, doing what he was supposed to do with a guy like me at the time. You know what I mean? Even though we were a similar age, he had way more experience professionally than I had at all. So, he was more so working on things with me, you know, than rather than like competing. You know, so but nevertheless, I did spar him.
Definitely. Now, with Canelo Alvarez, being that you shared the ring with him, Terrence Crawford is a phenomenal talent. He'll be moving up six weight divisions. The only other fighters that have done that is Oscar De La Hoya. He conquered six weight divisions. Manny Pacquiao, eight weight divisions. Now, how does that fight play out? Who do you give the edge to, and why? Canelo and Crawford.
Um, in that fight between Canelo and Crawford, I would have to give it to Canelo. I mean, I can't disrespect man and say that, you know, he doesn't beat Terrence Crawford. You know what I mean? Like I feel like that would be disrespectful for me to say. But I think if anybody could beat Canelo, it is Terrence Crawford for the reason of an interesting story about Crawford, and one of the only times we ever like hung out was it was at a buddy's house, and we were like throwing a football. It was like a fight, there's a fight going on. We were watching a fight party, so I can't remember which fight we were watching, but we were watching a fight and playing cards and stuff like that. One of the guys there challenges him to like, "Hey man, you can't throw a football 60 yards." I'll never forget this. We was outside for about 3 hours. Him just throwing that football for 3 hours, like until he did it. And I say that to say that's how competitive this man is. You know what I mean? Like he's hyperly competitive. And when you have that against a guy like Canelo Alvarez, who's the best in the business, and everybody thinks that, he's one of the greatest of this era. Um, you have that competitiveness that he can cling to and use. So I think that is a really, really great place for him to be. Right. With his last fight, I don't think that there was that same desire. You know, what I mean, when it was Earl Spence, it's like, yeah, like there's that desire, there's that competitiveness, there's that everybody can beat. Like, nobody, you're gonna get knocked out, you're gonna get beat. can't beat this guy, right? He had that. Now he has that same thing. All right, Canelo's gonna knock you out. Canelo's gonna beat you. He's gonna destroy you, whatever the case is. So he has that. And another thing too, um, and I think that that passion is deep, and why I think that Terrence Crawford thrives in that is because I mean he's talked about his mom, how his mom actually used to um, try to get people to knock him out when he was a kid. And she always told him, hey, you know, you gonna get knocked out or you're gonna lose. This guy's gonna beat you. You never become champion, like all this stuff, right? Even though it was very negative, he used it as positive. So now he has it
A high level.
at a high level. Like man, like this is the sport that he loves, that he's dedicated to. I mean, he's a I mean time unified undisputed champion, but two, three times undisputed champion.
Two-time undisputed, and then he's a champion in four weight divisions.
Yeah, right. But three times undisputed. That's crazy.
I think it's two. Is it three? No, yeah, I think it's two.
No, so it's 135, 140, and 147 undisputed.
Okay. Okay, yeah.
That's three times undisputed. You know how hard that is? Bro, it's hard to do it one time.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Bro, the last person that went undisputed in my weight class was Bernard Hopkins.
Yeah, yeah.
Bro, you know how hard that is? Like that's
It
see,
was
like
three belt
that.
era. Now it's the four belt era. So
Exactly.
yeah,
Exactly. So with that being said, bro, like it's like that's a hard thing to do. And so this man thrives in those areas of being like, you know, doubted and you know, you never be anything. Um, so with that being said, I do feel like that it is added. Okay. I think this added um you know fuel for him
yeah.
so that he can really drive it that he's going to conquer this beast. And so I don't think that means that he's going to win, but I definitely think that it puts him in a better percentage. You know what I mean? It gives him better odds, I feel like. You know what I mean? Especially if you have a guy that isn't taking it as serious as you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And if I'm being honest, you know, the last two guys he fought, he knocked them down both in the second round and then cruised. You know what I mean? That feel like is a dangerous place to be because you gotta like it just shows, okay, picked it up, I figured this puzzle out, and then I was done with it. You're gonna have to fight the whole entire time with a guy like Bud Crawford because he's gonna challenge you. I feel like he's gonna be really in there and trying to win and being mean in there. And so I think that it definitely gives Bud a lot better odds because if you could hurt guys and not put them out and have a little bit of sympathy for both of those guys, because I think that that's what it was. You know what I mean? Like he realized, okay, he figured it out. Boom, knocked him down both with a left hook in the in the second round, right? How don't you put these guys out?
Like with
You know what I mean?
Munguia, you felt like he carried Munguia.
100%. And I think he carried
I like
Berlanga too.
well,
Yeah,
let
100%.
his foot off the gas a bit. It seemed that way.
Bro, it is that way. How do you figure out a puzzle? Because it wasn't like anything that they did different. They didn't do anything. What did they do different to stop it? Nothing. They did nothing different. So if you could figure it out in two rounds, why can't you end it
Yeah,
in two rounds, two more rounds? Let's just say it took two more rounds to finish it. Why not?
yeah.
You figured it out in two rounds already.
So he coasted. He
We-
coasted the rest of the day.
I think so. I don't know. I don't know, but I
Yeah,
think so.
but I get you, man. I thought the same thing. I was thinking the same, and then I bet a lot of fans were thinking the same thing as well.
Yeah, like what? How don't you get these guys out? You clearly hurt them badly with
Definitely.
the same shot. Why? You telling me you can't set that shot up again? You're Canelo Alvarez. I think that you know he gave them some grace and you know allowed them to get back into the fight and finish the fight. So don't think that that is a good thing to do. You know what I mean? Like you know, finish the fight. I mean, I think they're actually saving them because they have to take more of your punches for a longer period of time. You know what I mean?
Out
At
of
least if you end it,
there.
you don't have to take as many punches, man. You're saving them.
For the long-term damage effects, right?
Yeah, right.
Accumulation of punches.
Exactly. They don't have to take those many arm shots.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Their
Hit
arms are
quick
gonna
with
fall off, bro.
Absolutely. But the only thing I'm worried about for Terrence Crawford is that maybe he's too competitive, he's too brave, and he wants to show the world that he has that mean streak, that he is that guy. He wants to push Canelo Alvarez back, who has that steel chin, who's never really been hurt and until he fought. I think it was, I don't know if it was his debut, but Miguel Cotto's brother had stunned him early on in his career, and then he's never been stunned after that. The Triple G fights, he has this strong neck. He's constantly working on that, with those machines. But I just think that Terrence Crawford might be a little too brave for that. And if he boxed, I think he'd have a better chance at winning a decision. What do you think? If he's gonna do it, he won't knock out Canelo Alvarez, right?
I mean, I wouldn't think so. Yeah, I wouldn't think that he'd knock out Canelo, but I mean, I've seen stranger things happen before.
Especially in this.
Um, yeah, you know what I mean? Like nobody's indestructible. Nobody is exempt from getting knocked out. I don't care who you are. If you go into the fire, you can get knocked out. So with that being said, I do feel like it would probably be better for Terrence Crawford to box. I think that would be a better strategy for him. But I think also to be able to in areas where you like in order to get the respect of a guy like Canelo, you have to go into the fight. You have to be able to show him that I'm willing because you can't box the entire time. There's no way. You know what I mean? Like unless you're Floyd Mayweather or Stevenson, and even them, like they're fighting in areas and spots. It may not be as hard as most people think. And the beautiful part about those guys is they know how to time very well, and they can hit you in between those shots and use your force against you. So even though they're not punching as hard or being um, as aggressive as you, they're able to fight in between and make you respect them because you go, oh dang, they just caught me with a little shot in between my shot. I might have to watch out, you know. So with that being said, even Bivol, right? When Canelo would throw his big shots, he's hitting immediately right. He throws a big shot, boom, boom, right, and making him have to respect. Okay, I might not be able to throw these big shots like this that much because I have to respect something's coming back, right? So yes, he does have to box, but I do feel like he has to find his areas and spots to be able to punch in between and make him respect those shots. And I think watching the fights between Bivol and watching the fights between Floyd Mayweather is how you would go about fighting a guy like Canelo. Mostly boxing, but finding your areas where you can um, be able to pick shots and make him respect you.
Absolutely, definitely. That would probably be the best plan. That's the blueprint following Bivol or Floyd Mayweather to get that victory and keeping him honest, hitting him with power shots to keep Canelo at bay, to think twice before he just rushes in, like the way he did with Charlo. I think Charlo didn't throw enough heat on him to keep it, and then he just wanted to survive after that, after Canelo dropped him. But we'll see what happens in that fight. I look forward to seeing that fight. But Shane, I know you're on the West Coast, so I don't want to keep you here all night. I know you got things to do, but man, it was a pleasure having you on the show. Let the fans know where they can find you on your social media and everything.
Yeah, you can find me Shane Mosley Jr. on Instagram. You can also find me on YouTube, Shane Mosley Jr. I think uh, Twitter and Instagram are both, I mean, Twitter and TikTok are both Shane Mosley Jr. or one Shane Mosley Jr., something like that. But find me, check me out. All
And thank you so much for the time. We're gonna talk more, okay?
right, sound good, bro.
Bye,
Peace.
we out of here.